Well, welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Well, can you believe it's been 34 years since this happened outside the Washington Hilton in our nation's capital?
It doesn't make much sense, Henry. He puts you here and then he runs around with a big gun. President Reagan! Back up! Get him out! Get him out! Get him out! Get out, back! Get him out! No! Get him out! Get the ambulance!
Well, of course, the president did survive, and here's Mr. Reagan on Larry King Live back in 1990, recalling the shooting.
I heard a noise, and we came out of the hotel and headed for the limousine, and I heard some noise, and I thought it was firecrackers. And the next thing I knew, one of the Secret Service agents behind me just seized me here by the waist and plunged me head first into the limo. I landed on the seat, and the seat divider was down, and then he dived in on top of me, which is part of their procedure to make sure that I'm covered.
I never saw that interview before. Hinkley was found not guilty by reason of insanity, which also seriously injured then Press Secretary James Brady. It actually paralyzed him. Since then, Hinkley has lived at a Washington mental hospital during the past 12 years. He has been given more freedom, being able to go to his parents' house in Williamsburg, Virginia. As of right now, he is home 17 days a month. His lawyer has argued that he deserves even more time out of the hospital. The prosecutor has said that they need to add more restrictions. All right, Brad, guys, you're about forgiveness, I know. What do you think?
Look, I think this gets to the issue of what we think we put people away for. Do we put them away to protect us or to punish them? And it seems to me it's always going to be a combination. On the protect us, maybe you can make a case for giving him more freedom. On the punish them, you try and murder the president, that's a pretty powerful act. I bet most people who are around now remember, I know I do, exactly where I was when I heard about it. I can't do Kennedy, but I remember when President Reagan was shot.
Where were you?
I was finishing high school in Israel, and I was on a bus in Jerusalem. And I couldn't believe it. And it was one of those moments, right, because the news there is in Hebrew. I thought, maybe I'm not understanding it right, because they couldn't have shot the president. And I realized, no, they shot the president. So I want to be clear. The docs can make a case that he's healthy enough to be out. And on the protect us, they may be right. Though we should be clear, doctors are always going to make the argument they've treated mental illness because that's what they're invested in. But even if that's all true, there is an issue of not just protecting us, but punishing. And this is about as bad as it gets, it seems to me, short of actually taking a life.
Tom.
No, I agree with him. I think we have to keep the punishment side of it alive because you're sending a message, and who out there could say maybe I could try to do something like this and then I'm saying I'm insane and I'm not going to be put away forever. So I
Do you think he's insane?
I haven't studied the case. I think he probably was, but I'm not sure. And then mental illness is not sometimes, unfortunately, something you can cure.
Sure.
Some of these things are really pretty permanent.
Rick, the fear that I would have if he's given more freedom is that he hurts somebody again, and then we look like the most foolish country on earth for somebody tried to kill our president and then suddenly has the ability to actually be reintegrated into society. I just think from a symbolic perspective, it's a very, very bad decision.
I don't think symbols should play into it. I don't think anything should play into it but one question. Look, this guy tried to kill the president. If there was ever a case where the insanity defense better be incredibly right, this would be it. Therefore, since he did succeed with that defense, I think it's more than reasonable to accept he was insane. And if he was insane, insane does not equal punishment. Intentional crimes bring punishment. His was insanity. That being the case, you can only look to the doctors. We got nobody else to look to. And we don't make a symbol out of him of punishment if he was insane and now he's better. It's fair to consider, could he still be a danger? It is. From everything I've seen, and I've followed this over the years, and how he's behaved on his long-term visits, he doesn't appear to be, but I'm not a doctor. If the doctors say it's okay, I'll go with them.
I think what people forget, and I brought it up earlier, is that James Brady was in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Ever since that time. He paralyzed somebody, which some could call worse than death, that you never walk again. And he was obviously a grown adult. James Brady and his wife had to live with all of that. I wonder if that should be put into play here as well, as far as the penalty part of this.
I think it should. And the question I would ask you, Rick, is it's a big if you held out there. Are you convinced that because something was a legally successful defense, it was necessarily a true and accurate defense?
Yeah, I mean, am I convinced? I am convinced as that jury was, because this would be such a hard case to make in this instance. If you ask me about some guy on the streets of New York and he got charged, I might answer differently. They put this one through the ringer. So I'm more convinced of this than I can imagine being convinced of any other insanity defense.
That's
the
a
only
different
way
answer, but I'll take it. I hear
only
you.
honest answer you can,
That's fair.
you can
Yeah.
provide.
One word answer. Do you think we'll get more freedom or less?
I think he'll get more.
He will get
Yeah,
more.
I do.
It's the momentum, right? He's been given more.
And I think
Can't
it's
suddenly
probably
bring
right.
it back, right? Anyway, we'll be debating this, I'm sure, over the next 2 days. When a decision's made, we'll talk about it again. Potluck time next. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax.